Morning.
Happy All Saints Day. That's what it is, even though that was November 1st. Father Ron has moved this great celebration to Sunday so we can all be here, which is a great blessing. And it's also a great blessing for all of us in that Catherine will be confirmed into the Episcopal Church and the Anglican Communion today. And that is all bound together in this beautiful celebration that we have. It's an honor for Sheila Andrus and I to be here with you, and also our Archdeacon, David Stickley. We welcome him. Those first two lessons were pretty terrific, right? But you've already forgotten them. Because of that gospel. That is the most profound gospel. And it takes our attention, and it strains our credulity. And we wonder, what is it about? In the Christian church, in the liturgical traditions, the Gospel of John is the gospel that is kind of roped in whenever we're going deep. Whenever the Christian church is moving into its deepest understanding of what the world is, what our lives mean, where we're headed, where we've been, we bring in the Gospel of John. From the earliest days of the church, during the season of preparation for Easter and Lent, the reading of the Gospels that followed Matthew, Mark, and Luke through was interrupted. And John came in, flying on the eagle wings, in order to deepen the understanding of the catechumens, people who were being prepared for baptism. All adults in those days, in the first 400 years of Christianity, all people like most of us, all adults. So John is here to help us to grasp the deepest things of God, the deepest things of our own lives, and the deepest things of our community. Like the story of the forgiving of the woman caught in adultery, this story of the raising of Lazarus, it seems to stand almost on its own. That story of the woman caught in adultery was found in several Gospels. It didn't have a home until probably the 3rd century. It wasn't fixed. It stands almost by itself. Jesus kneeling down to write in the sand, the confrontation between the woman's accusers, and then his wonderful dialogue with her that tells her to go free, similar to Lazarus, and sin no more. This story has been explained many, many ways. What is really going on here? It has been said that this is a precursor, a kind of way to start to grasp the ungraspable, that is, the resurrection of Jesus himself. It comes just before Jesus is betrayed and killed and raised again. And some people have said it's meant to help us get ready for that which can't be explained in normal terms of physics or biology or ordinary experience. The idea of being raised from the dead, it has no precedent. So the raising of Lazarus, which is called a resuscitation and not a resurrection, should we pause there for a moment? Yeah, a resuscitation meaning that he resumes a normal human life, as opposed to a resurrection, which is a transformed life. Jesus has the marks of the wounds that killed him on his radiant body, and yet he can pass through walls and doors and appear. So he is not the same. But Lazarus is being restored, resuscitated and restored into his life. So this is, in some people's view, a way to get ready for that which we can't get ready for. A guy back from the dead. It pushes us, but not as much as resurrection pushes us. So maybe that's right. But it doesn't seem quite satisfactory, at least to me. And could I say that I'm not setting up a dualism where it's this is right, this is wrong, but maybe there's more. Maybe there's more. The Church Divinity School of the Pacific is the seminary in the boundaries of the Diocese of California. It's in Berkeley, part on the Holy Hill, part of what's called the Graduate Theological Union, which is the spiritual side of the University of California, Berkeley. They live in lovely tension with each other, these two campuses, sets of campuses. And on the CDSP campus, the Episcopal Seminary campus, there was this great New Testament, Hebrew Scripture, theological thinker who is now emeritus, still lives in the area, one of the priests of this diocese, Bill Countryman. And Bill wrote a book about the Gospel of John. And I read it when I was first ordained as a priest 32 years ago. And I taught one of the first Bible studies I taught from this book. It transformed my way of seeing the fourth gospel. In it, Bill says, the theme of the Gospel of John that passes through it all, that threads its way through every story, though not explicit, is the idea of baptism. That we are being brought to the death of Jesus, that we might be raised with him, is the theme of the Gospel of John. So what if I were to look at the raising of Lazarus in that light? What would I see? How would I understand this profound, puzzling, moving story if I thought about it as a story helping us understand baptism? And remember, it was brought in to help prepare people for their baptisms, which were always done at the Easter Vigil. For hundreds of years, there was only one day. It wasn't when grandparents could come. It was only at the Easter Vigil. Not all Saints' Day, which there will be 24 baptisms at Grace Cathedral this morning. But no, in those days, it was only at the Easter Vigil, which was around baptism. So people were plunged into a pool of water, for instance, at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, not wearing a stitch of clothes, because they were going into the approximation of their deaths. And as we know, you can't take it with you. So they went into a pool of water, full immersion, as if they were going into the tomb. And then they were raised up and dressed in white to signify a new life. And this story of the raising of Lazarus maybe helped them understand that dynamic. So what can we learn from it? Well, the Greek speakers in the time of Jesus, you know that they had 4 words for love. This is like you've heard Eskimos have 12 words for snow. We only have love. But they also had multiple words for death. At least 3 that I know of. And one of those is used in this story. And it's not what we might expect. Prior to 1960, most philosophers held the idea that there was a purpose to life. That our lives were going somewhere. There was a goal to life. Not just one that you and I thought about, but that was woven into who we were. That you were meant for something, and we were meant for something, and that we were headed somewhere. This is called teleology. The idea that there is a purpose and goal to life, to individual life, to community life, to the life of the world. This is out of fashion now. That doesn't make it not true, does it? So the word for a dead man in this passage is based on that idea. It means one who has finished his life, has completed the path of his life, and it's over. But that doesn't seem to be the case, does it? It wasn't over. Maybe it was premature. So if this is about baptism, it's not just about my mortal death, is it? Baptism takes place in the middle of life, and we live on from there. So it could be that this is about the many deaths that we die or are invited to die in the course of life. As we said earlier this morning in talking about confirmation, there are two kinds of spiritual death. One is the death of something that is truly completed. We have lived through it. It is done, and we're grateful for it. It has taught us something. It has brought us to this point in life, and we lay it down and assume a new life. On the other hand, there are things that were never good for us. There are ways of thinking, ways of speaking, ways of acting that are injurious to others and injurious to ourselves, and they may be part of our lives. When I worked with 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds and 14-year-olds getting ready for confirmation, I'd ask them, do you know bitter people? People who are just bitter. Every hand goes up. And I asked them, do you think this is good for those people? Do you think it makes them happy? And they all say no. And then some of them, more self-aware than others, have said, maybe I've been a little bitter before. Maybe that wasn't good for me either. Maybe I need to lay that down. Die to that. So this dying has two aspects. The dying of something that is truly teleological, that has come to its end, and the dying of something that was never good for us. So we finally recognize and lay down. But in the case of Lazarus, it appears that his life was brought to an untimely conclusion. It was not time, in either way, for him to die. Can this be true for us in our lives as we live? Is it possible that there are ways of life in our lives that have been brought to an untimely end, that should have lived on, that needed life, that were good for others and good for us, but have been bound up and placed in a tomb with a big rock in front of it so that no one could roll it away? That is, have we imposed death on others or on ourselves in an untimely, unfair, and painful way? Every struggle that we feel in the human breast, when we cry out, this is not how it should be, may be a death of that sort. Coming too soon, coming wrongly, coming unfairly. And others and ourselves can be the morticians of that death, the causes, the preparers, the people who roll the stone in front of the cave and make sure it's sealed and no one gets out. Jesus Christ desires to roll away the stone, to take the winding cloth off the body so that the hands and feet can move and the eyes can see again. And this is the new life that Jesus Christ is offering me and you. priests and lay people and deacons who have told me, Mark, that's the way it is. This is the path that we're on. We're on our way to extinction. People of faith are dwindling. We're older. There's a fair amount of lovely white in the room. I don't just mean skin tone. We're an aging church, largely, and dwindling. Is that the death that is being imposed on us by ourselves and by others? Is it the teleological end? Is it what we're meant for? I do not think so. I do not think this is God's will and desire and dream for St. Clare's, for the Diocese of California, for the Episcopal Church, for Christianity, for people of faith, for the planet, for me. This is not the death that is called natural. This is the death that Jesus was deeply struggling against. When I was a little boy in East Tennessee, this passage contains the shortest verse in the Bible. Jesus wept. It's translated slightly differently. It's three words in this translation, but Jesus wept. And before Jesus wept, it says he was deeply troubled in his spirit, and he stirred his spirit up. Then he weeps. And then again, he comes to the tomb, and it says, deeply troubled again. He stirred. And he does not raise Lazarus from the dead by himself. How many times have we heard Jesus say, in a healing, in a casting out of a demon, your faith has saved you? Sometimes it's not even the person being healed's faith, it is their friends. Remember the story of the paralytic in Luke, who they can't get him to Jesus because everyone's crowded around the door of the house where Jesus is teaching and healing. And so what do? They climb up on the roof and they tear the shingles off and they lower their friends down. And Jesus looks up, not at the man on the ground, but at his friends and says, your faith has saved him. So whose faith is raising Lazarus from the dead today? Mary and Martha, the sisters of his dear friend Lazarus. Mary, his greatest student, the witness to the resurrection, the first witness, the first apostle. And Martha, her sister, faithful. They are the ones who believe him. Teacher, if you had been here, our brother would not have died. They believe, and yet they do not have a context for believing that not only before his death could Jesus have saved him, but now, 4 days after his death, when he has decomposed and he is laid in a tomb with a great stone in front of it. This strains their credulity and their faith, and yet they are with Jesus. And Jesus summons the power of his Father God. And bolstered by the faith of his friends, he calls Lazarus out of the tomb. And then he says, unbind him and let him go free. That is, his life was not completed. His path is not over. He has more to do. He has more to live. St. Clare's, you have more to do. You have more to live. You individually, we collectively, there is more that God is dreaming for us than we imagine right now. It's not how many people are in the pews, it's how many people are outside who need you. Who need you. And not you only, but God with you. It is the power of God that brings us back to life, that's letting us go free and and sending us forth. The verb that's there is unbind him and let him go out. It doesn't say resume the life he had before. It's sending him out, maybe to a place that Lazarus does not know. Maybe to a life he doesn't know. Maybe. It looks more like resurrection than it does resuscitation. So today,